Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Price List Update Summary video series brought to you by Actionable Insights. You've got Harrison here, you've got Whatley there, and you've got Stone here. And we're here to talk about the new line items that were added to the Xactimate Price List in, what month is it? March 2025. Also, a bunch of existing line items had some tweaks to it, and we like to take a look at what changes happened, what new line items exist, how are we supposed to use them. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Whatley, Stone, how are you guys today? Great. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Let's jump right into the brand new line items that were added to the price list in March 2025. New line items. All right, this month there are 32 new Xactimate line items that are added to the price list. Let's start here at the top with the first 5 in the CAB cabinetry category. These are bid items around cabinetry restoration, one for finishing, one for installation, one for material, one for reconstruction, one for removal. Stone, what are your thoughts on having these bid items around cabinetry restoration?
I think this is a good addition to our estimating methodology. You know, if you're just doing it in-house with your own carpenter, you might factor material plus labor hours. But if you're working through a program, you might have a specific repair vendor that you need to send that cabinet off to be rebuilt or to match existing cabinetry that's being saved. So this is a great fit for that.
Nice.
Yeah, my guess is this is a program-centric line item whereby a carrier would advise a prime contractor to engage a subcontractor like Furniture Medic, and they would leverage these bid items. What do we know about bid items in a program environment? They don't go so hot. However, if it's a bid item, and we're seeing this quite a bit come through the price list right now, if it's a bid item from another preferred sub, because a lot of what the manager pairs are doing now is they're onboarding specialty subcontractors. We're seeing this in things like contents as well. And so in so doing, you need bid items that will actually pass through in a program environment unencumbered. That's why I think these line items exist. In addition to what Stone just said.
Makes sense.
I agree.
There are 8 new line items in the RFG category around roof patches, bitumen roof patches, rubber roof patches, and single ply roof patches. And you can see these are kind of split up into 3 different line items each. One is for up to 4 patches. One is 5 to 9 patches. One is 10 to 15 patches. And when you dive into the details of these line items to better understand, gentlemen, we've had a line item in Xactimate that everybody knows, dry patch, right? Some people love it, some people hate it, and it is just dry patch. But now we have roofing patches. These are patches, patch size up to 4 square feet. Whatley, what are your thoughts on these roof patches line item being added to the Xactimate price list?
I love line items, but there's too many here. I think this adds a lot of confusion. At first glance, when these line items hit, Harrison, I thought, if we're doing, say, up to 4 patches, there's $1,000. And I was like, that doesn't pay very well. It's not exciting. But you go to additional item information, what do you see? You see that if you're doing 3 patches, you would do a quantity of 3. Then you augment that with, look, there's 3 of every kind of building material here. Well, there's actually 2 of bitumen, and then there's 3 of rubber, 3 of single ply. It's a lot of line items. The deltas in pricing, I don't think, are significant enough to warrant new line items, but whatever. We got it. That's what we've got. Everybody's just becoming dependent on Xactware anyhow. So that's what's going down. What's the rule here, Stone? Like, if you include one of those line items and you have a quantity of 1, you remind the user, hey, if you have more than 1 patch, right, you might need to increase your quantity. That would be a good rule. So I think that would be a lot of the confusion. I think Xactware will mitigate that confusion. This is also hard for me to see as a restorer. I've patched roofs under the direction of carriers. Restorers don't want to patch roofs generally because of the warranty risk. And Stone, it has not gone well. Like, I can't remember all the situations, but I think like it was 50-50, whether we were back out there in 6 months because it leaked again. It's really hard to patch roofs back to pre-loss condition. It's why contractors resist it. And you're going at all that warranty risk, and then you're not really making any money. And so that's the real rub here. Even if you are charging $3,000, according to my initial example I was giving, like $3,000, what is that against the warranty risk? If that roof fails, how does that blow out the drywall, right, or the flooring or otherwise? So this is why patching, it's a shaky business. So I suspect that the carrier side of the house had some pressure on the pricing department to introduce these patches. Any of the restorers watching this are not going to be super excited about the patches, but hey, we're going to do our best with the actionable alerts to make sure that if you include that line item, You
they're
likely
used
include more
correctly.
than one quantity.
I
Mhm.
think it's been universal and increasingly important for over the last 10 years. Documentation, justification. If you need to replace the roof, then you need to explain why and how to its fullest extent. Otherwise, there will be conversations that direct people to these line items to patch. So
Mhm.
documentation, justification, it has always been a thing, but it increasingly becomes more important in the digital claims world, and especially as the softwares that we all use evolve.
And try to remain actionable balanced here, Harrison. I think there is a tendency, and this isn't out of the restorer community as much as it's out of the roofing community, but the roofing community will often take a small impact from a couple hail strikes and try to turn it into like the carrier buying the roof. It's a terminology I didn't even learn until I started becoming more familiar with the roofing
Mhm.
side of the house. So I think these line items weren't necessarily introduced to push back against what you and I think of as a traditional full service restorer, probably the roofing side of the house, to at least create a conversation where, hey, there is some precedent for patching. Those IAs, staff adjusters that are watching this video, just be mindful of the warranty risk that a restorer or a roofer has to go up against when they're doing something like this, like patching. Yes, patching may be possible. We all agree. It's the warranty risk that sometimes isn't communicated to the carrier side
Mhm.
of the claim. That's the problem.
Makes sense.
Agreed.
All right, moving on to the TCR trauma and crime scene remediation. Now, these appear to be primarily contents oriented line items that we've had in other contents categories, but removing and break down a chair, removing a sofa, we got some needles in the
Mhm.
mix. We've got air mattresses and box springs in the mix.
Yep.
Stone, what are your thoughts? Why do we have these contents oriented line items in the TCR category now?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of trauma and crime scene cleanup in my career. It is a messy
After joining
ordeal.
Actionable Insights, right? Hey
Yeah.
now.
Right. When he said that
Right.
he's done a lot of trauma, like I was about to text his wife, do like a proof of life check.
Right?
Okay. What do you
Um,
mean you've done a lot of trauma, Stone? Okay.
regardless of that, it is a very messy line of work. All right. You are dealing with objects that may have gallons of blood or brain matter in them. You can't just throw away that couch in the dumpster. It's got to be broken down and put into approved containers or bags and disposed of in accordance with regulation. Previously, you just had TCR labor and bags. Now we have line items that are related to common contents items that you have to dispose of in a trauma or crime scene scenario.
Makes sense. Thank you. Got it. Good to know that they're there. And if you're doing TCR work and you run into those contents oriented situations, you now have line items within that category that you can use to address. Now, probably I think this might be the most exciting line item this month, right? While certainly when we were looking at all of them, you were like, dude, this might be like super exciting. Certainly when we think about all the places where it can apply. It's a temporary line item, TMP rail for temporary railing using specifically 2x4 material. Now, Whatley, what are your thoughts? What are you excited about? We have this temporary railing line item now as an option in the price list.
Pull that additional item information up. See if it explicitly says anything about roofing.
It specifically says estimators are recommended to review the material assumptions and against their job scenario and make any adjustments as needed or warranted. It just says a guardrail with 3 rails. It does not say in what environment it's specifically supposed to be used.
Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, you could use it on a deck, like say like some vehicle at a snow lodge, ski lodge came and like hit a deck or something like that and compromised the rail. That could be one application of it. I'm thinking about this more the railing that you might use on a 2 or 3 story roof repair or replacement.
Right.
Sometimes municipalities are calling for this nowadays, Stone.
hmm
California in particular is very draconian about, you get to a 2-story roof or above, and you pull a permit, right? You've got
Yep.
all of your harnesses that would otherwise be required in addition to temporary railing in a lot of the municipalities throughout California. So this is used in a claim settlement environment. If I'm a claims professional and you do this on a single-story home, I'm going to have fit.
Right. This is more related
Right,
to that commercial convenience store flat roof,
yeah,
downtown.
that's right. Yeah, so commercial applications, especially
There's
if you don't have that like the parapet style
There's
roof that
been one
to-
macro at getinsights.org that has been free for 9 years. It is the PPE macro that we have on our website that will explain to people, how do you charge for PPEs? How do we protect our people? That is something that we obviously care about in this industry, no matter what. But at Actionable, we're not a contractor, we're not a carrier, we're not on the field every day, but we want to make sure that those that are in the field are protecting themselves and have the proper line items and language to justify protecting their employees and charging for the associated cost to make sure the policy holder is indemnified of those costs of being able to perform that work in their home. So I just love it when there's safety oriented line items that exist, allowing people to pursue safety, to protect their people, and properly include those costs in the scope of work. Anytime that happens, I'm a happy man.
Yeah, I do see an alert here. It's an overage stone. You can guide the team towards developing a actionable alert. If you include this temporary railing by linear foot that exceeds the perimeter of the roof itself, then that would likely be an overage. So
Makes sense.
I see that one.
Me too.
But otherwise, I will leave it up to you guys to sort that one out. This will be a highly contentious line item. Harrison, I say it's a big line item.
Yeah.
You heard me say that before. Am I excited about it?
Fair,
Not necessarily
fair.
because it can create some friction about when it's warranted or not. So if you're a restore and you're going to bill for that, I would strongly advise you to include an F9 note. There's maybe another alert stone. If you include this line item, then include an F9 note.
Yep.
Where that municipality is otherwise calling for a temporary railing. A lot of roofs get replaced. We all know it, even in municipalities that would otherwise require it without this being done. And so both sides of the claim needs to understand there's some gray area here.
So make sure you've got good photo documentation of your railing up.
Yeah, but I want to see that municipality like call for that. All right, show me where and how this is enforced.
All right, the last 8 line items that we have this month are in the WTR category around tearing out countertop subdeck. Now, in our preparations for this recording, we realized, yes, we have tear out countertop line items. Yes, we have tear out cabinetry while leaving the countertop in place line items. So where exactly, Whatley, does this countertop subdeck line item fit into the mix?
Well, on the West Coast. So when you and I were traveling around, remember when we spent 75% of our life on a plane? What I came to realize is that on the West Coast, almost all courts, granite countertops have a plywood subdeck. You get out to Atlanta, I learned this specifically for our friends out at Southeast Restoration. What's up, Trent? You guys do much thicker granite or corian, might be an inch, inch and a half, and you don't use the plywood subdeck. This is just acknowledging that's a building component, and it might be warranted to charge for that add for. It's not a huge cost, but if the plywood has a subdeck, perhaps it's warranted to charge this. What's a little bewildering about this line item to me is it's very rare. For me, it's a restore, having replaced a lot of countertops in a restoration environment. Like, you're not separating the subdeck from the granite because it's really hard. Because they use liquid nails, and like, how are you going to separate that? Stone brought up, well, maybe it'd be for tile, and then to the extent it's for tile, again, like, you're going to have worse luck separating tile from plywood without totally destroying the tile. Not even sure exactly what the application is, but this one bends in the restorer's favor in my opinion, and if it's there, then perhaps it is warranted. Until this line item becomes more familiar to the other side of the claim, it would be advisable to include an F9 note to justify why the inclusion was in fact warranted.
And anytime there's a new line item, we recommend adding an F9 note so that when it's submitted to somebody, you're not hearing the phrase, I've never seen this before. This line item, what do you mean, right? It's just get ahead of it. Hey, this was added in March 2025.
Good point, Harrison.
All right. That is the 32 new line items that were added to the Xactimate Price List this month. Let's go check out the changes to existing line items.
Checking out the changes.
All right, I'm going to do that sexy snap thing we do here, where I've got on the left-hand side a February 2025 estimate and price list, and on the right side we have March. Only additional item information changes this month, so no major yield changes, price changes, weird changes, just straight up clarifying the existing line items that are already in there. Here in our ductwork, there's 2 line items around ductwork. They've essentially clarified the quality of work. There was no quality note on the left-hand side previously, and now it says, look, the method of cleaning may vary. Negative pressurized air, positive compressed air. Stone, what were your quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different methods of duct cleaning. They may be small portable units that a restorer is bringing into a house and doing one duct run individually and moving through, or it might be an entire truck mounted unit where they're hooking directly up to the main plenum and just vacuuming the entire house.
Makes sense. So it's clarified that it doesn't matter what the system is. This is the line item used to generally charge for those particular activities. Now, drip edge, this is specific to the removal activity where they have further clarified. You'll see it was fairly simple before, but there's a nice note in here that really clarifies when is drip removal activity line item warranted. And it's just clarifying, hey, this is intended to be used when the drip edge is being removed for disposal. If it is being removed along with the shingles on the same roof slope, the removal would generally be done with the shingle removal line item, and this line item would not be warranted to include. Whatley, any quick thoughts there?
Yeah. Why does this line item exist for all these years with this activity symbol? If it's in fact included, how many scenarios in a restoration environment are we just removing drip edge on its own accord? How often does that happen, Stone? You ever seen that? Never.
I mean, one time I did a roof and I did a really bad job on the drip edge and I tore it up and redid it before shingles. But
okay,
yeah, it's
but
a niche case.
Short of your tradesmanship coming up short, I can't imagine the scenario. Harrison, this one's bizarre, man. Okay, so the carriers leaned on the pricing department to say that drip edge is now included in the removing of the shingles. I think removing of drip edge is a pain in the ass, and I totally get, like, hey, the felt comes off with the shingles. Okay, if you've ever done any roofing work, that makes sense to me. Drip edge, this is a reach, but okay, here we are. And now it is included in the line item for removing shingles. So, Stone, you're going to need to guide the team towards including some notes for that, because it is very customary for restorers to remove the shingles and then bill for the removal of the drip edge.
Hey, everybody on this call that's watching this video. You have the power to vocalize your thoughts about these things. If you don't like what you're seeing in the price list, pricing@various.com is the email address where you can email them and start a conversation around, hey, I don't love this. Every single person in the industry has the ability to give feedback on Xactimate and the price list as a whole. So, like, all I've ever asked about, guys, I talk about this when I train. I was not born 45 years ago when claims were settled on yellow pieces of paper and people shook hands to get things done. All I've ever known is the modern claims world that requires incredible documentation and justification to get things done quickly and efficiently. For something like this, all I've ever wanted to know is what is it? What is Xactimate? Does it include it or does it not include it? Just tell me, and then I'll go from there. So whether or not the change is exactly what the change we wanted to see or what we think is correct, the fact that there's more clarity now, to me, is an improvement that at least lets people be on the same page and go from that same page to get where they need to be, whatever the cost associated with performing those activities would be, right? I implore, and you guys have heard me say this before, I don't have much sympathy for those that complain about pricing anymore, because more often than not, when I ask them, when was the last time you sent something to the pricing department? The answer is never, or haven't done it for years. So this is my plea to you as an audience member. Be vocal, reach out to Verisk, tell them what you like or what you don't like, and work with them. And I would absolutely recommend their certified pricing consultant course, which the training department offers, so that you can get more familiar with the price list and be considered a consultant to the pricing department to provide them with your pricing feedback. Woo! Okay. Lastly, sorry, you guys know me. I want this industry to be as healthy as it can be, and I just need people to be vocal about the things that they need and how we can address them.
See something, say something.
Yes, address it as an industry. Now, lastly, there are a couple changes to these additional charge line items around high roofs, steep roofs, sloping roofs. It's really, really just clarifying pricing is based on the additional cost being reported when you're working on a sloped roof. When you're working in a tough environment, sloped roof, condensed spaces. No, what's the word?
Confined.
Confined. Thank you. Confined spaces, right? It is difficult to work in those spaces. You are not as productive as you normally would be. And anytime productivity or yield goes down, the price of something goes up. So however people are using these additional charge line items, it's good to have the clarity that they are just designed. They're adding some additional cost because your team is less productive in challenging environments. Shbang. That is all the changes to the existing price list in March 2025. Let's very quickly look forward to the future.
Forward to the future.
Right here, every month, Xactimate gives us a little preview of what new line items might be coming, what changes might be coming in the future. We have 3 new line items on the horizon. Adding an item for light concrete grinding. So we have FCW grind and CNC grind. So it seems like we might have a light grinding, concrete grinding opportunity. Additional items for cleaning in the TCR category. So we just saw the couch, love seat, and needles. We'll see some more of that. Adding additional items for equipment to remove trees. I'll be interested to see that. So, as always, thank you for watching the Price List Update Summary video series where we talk about the changes to Xactimate's price list and all the line items in it. If this is your first time watching, hi, thanks for being here. Be sure to follow us on whatever place you're watching. The best place to watch this video, getinsights.org, where we hyperlink every line item we talked about below the video, so you can click that line item and go straight to the point in the video where we talk about that line item. In the meantime, good luck settling those claims out there.
Keep building.
Keep growing, guys.